Welcome to this explainer. Look, we really need to talk about exhaustion. And I don't mean the physical, I just ran a marathon kind of exhaustion. I mean that deep, modern burnout where you wake up, stare at a screen, and feel entirely drained before you've even typed a single word. Today, we're going to completely reframe that feeling. We're going to equip you with a ridiculously low-friction daily system that actually builds unstoppable momentum. So if you're constantly feeling tired, despite desperately wanting to achieve more, you are in exactly the right place. All right, let's dive into this. I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. Now, that's Bill Gates. Just think about the magnitude of that statement for a second. If a multi-billionaire specifically hired lazy people because their brains are wired for efficiency rather than struggle, well, your laziness might actually be an incredible advantage just waiting for the right system. Seriously, it might just be a hint that you're allergic to unnecessary effort, not unmotivated. You're not broken, you're just incredibly efficient at doing nothing. We just need to channel that.
So, here is the exact chronological roadmap we're going to use today to build this lazy but ambitious lifestyle. First, we'll establish why you're overloaded, not lazy. Second, we'll master your morning reset. Third, design your environment for momentum. Fourth, save your afternoons and nights. And finally, number 5, we'll build your new lazy genius identity. Let's get right into it.
Okay, section 1, you're overloaded, not lazy. Let's start with a massive empathetic paradigm shift to diagnose the real issue behind why you feel so exhausted all the time. You see, traditional laziness is just lying on the couch, eating snacks, doing absolutely nothing, and actually loving every minute of it. But let's be honest with ourselves here. You can't even enjoy doing nothing. When you try to rest, you just feel horribly guilty. Right? That isn't laziness. That is overload. Your brain is simply running in the background, kind of like a laptop with 100 tabs open. You've got tabs for unanswered emails, looming deadlines, societal expectations, personal guilt. It's this internal, silent chaos that's aggressively draining your battery before you even attempt to use it. So, have you ever wondered why you could have massive goals, incredible talent, and a genuine desire to succeed, but still end up staring blankly at your wall, totally frozen? It happens to literally the best of us. Because when ambition lacks structure, it stops being a motivator and actually becomes a paralyzing weight. Dreams become wildly stressful when they have no organization. You don't need to scream at yourself in the mirror for more discipline right now. You just need a routine that turns down the volume of that internal noise so your capable, ambitious self can actually breathe. Basically, you aren't avoiding work, you are bracing for the impact of a giant pile of expectations. Imagine being a tiny stick figure. Every time you try to take a single step forward, that massive, towering pile of guilt and unfinished tasks leans over you, ready to collapse and bury you. Of course you freeze. Anybody would. We just need a ridiculously simple routine to clear that pile out of the way, piece by piece, without you having to lift the entire mountain all at once. Moving on to section 2, master your morning reset. Let's see how this builds into the very first step of our chronological day, starting the actual second you open your eyes. Okay, I want you to think about the number 10. 10 seconds. Listen, you do not need some massive 40-minute influencer morning routine that involves plunging into an ice bath at 4 a.m. and journaling your deepest traumas in ancient Latin. I mean, that makes your brain tired just thinking about it, doesn't it? You only need a comically small number of seconds. Because in those very first 10 seconds after you wake up, your brain is still soft, quiet, and actively listening before the world starts aggressively demanding things from you. The morning reset is beautifully simple. You take one slow breath and tell yourself, today is a new file, not yesterday's. That's it. By just taking one breath and speaking that specific phrase, you effectively clear the emotional dust off your mental whiteboard. Waking up shouldn't mean drowning in the guilt of what you didn't finish yesterday. This 10-second practice stops your morning from immediately becoming your enemy. And honestly, after a few days of doing this, your brain actually starts trusting you again. It realizes you're gently guiding it rather than overwhelming it. All right, section 3, design your environment for momentum. With the morning cleared and a fresh file opened, it's time to conquer the overthinking that completely paralyzes your actual workday. The absolute best cure for overwhelming to-do lists? Shrinking your ambition down to a single digit. 1. Not some giant project manager's list of 20 unachievable life overhauls that make your brain refuse to even start the race. Just one single thing. This is the one-task rule, and it is absolute magic for a busy mind. Pick one meaningful task that moves your life forward just 1%. Everything else, that's just bonus credit. Think about your own to-do list right now. It's probably terrifying, but when you single out just one task that actually matters, you completely remove decision fatigue. Your brain hates chaos, but it deeply loves clarity. And ironically, once you finish that one required task, your brain gets bored enough that you accidentally start doing extra work, like maybe cleaning a little or replying to a few emails, purely because that crippling pressure is completely gone. Think about it like this. When you're standing in front of 10 doors, 10 things you quote-unquote should do, you will inevitably freeze, overanalyze, hesitate, and waste the entire day standing aimlessly in the hallway. But when you eliminate all of those choices and leave yourself standing in front of one single door, well, moving forward becomes completely unavoidable. It's clear, it's simple, and it feels remarkably light. Next, because your lazy brain automatically follows the path of least resistance, we have to design your physical environment to do half the work for you. We're going to use a minimalist method to design defaults. Essentially, you want to cover your bad habits in Legos and make your good habits a path of smooth tiles. Make scrolling incredibly annoying by plugging your phone charger entirely across the room. Make hydrating inevitable by keeping a water bottle right in your direct line of sight. Put your gym shoes literally in the doorway so you have to trip over them to avoid a workout. You have to make winning easier than losing. But hey, what happens when you're staring at your laptop, feeling that familiar sense of dread creeping in, and you're still refusing to start that one single task? Well, we use the number 2 to absolutely trick your brain. Enter the resistance trick. You tell yourself you're only doing the task for 2 minutes. This bypasses like 80% of your mental friction. You see, your brain literally cannot fear 2 minutes. It's just too small of a time commitment to even complain about. By lowering the entry point this drastically, you bypass almost all of that mental resistance. Once you start typing that first sentence or putting away that first shirt, the friction just melts away. You build immediate momentum, and crossing that 2-minute threshold brings this massive wave of psychological relief. Starting is really the only hurdle, and 2 minutes makes starting effortless. Section 4. Save afternoons and close nights. Now that we've generated all this incredible forward motion, we have to protect that momentum from the 2 biggest threats to your daily progress: the dreaded afternoon slump and nighttime overthinking. Take a quick look at this timeline. Morning is a 10-second mental reset. Afternoon is micro reboot actions. Night is one breath to close the day. This maps out exactly how minimal our interventions need to be to keep your day from emotionally falling apart. Notice the key word there, minimal. We aren't demanding hours of grueling willpower here. We're just placing tiny, strategic speed bumps to keep your energy gracefully on track from morning all the way to night. Now, the afternoon is when most people give up emotionally, but when your energy completely dies at noon, do not surrender the rest of the day. Instead, use a tiny micro reboot action to reset your system. It's exactly like tapping the side of an old TV to instantly clear the static picture. Take a short walk, drink a glass of freezing cold water, open a window for a sudden blast of fresh air, or literally just stand at the sink for 30 seconds. Doing just one of these tiny, zero willpower actions breaks the mental fog and brings your energy right back online. And then we get to nighttime. Instead of falling into the night ungracefully, dragging all this heavy emotional luggage and unfinished stress right into bed with you, you need a hard stop. Take one deep breath and tell yourself, today is complete. Tomorrow can have the rest. You have to intentionally close the day to give it a soft, protective landing. It explicitly tells your brain, hey, we're done. You are allowed to rest now. Without this, your mind will just keep working in the background until you pass out from pure mental exhaustion. Finally, Section 5, the lazy genius identity. Let's pull this all together and see how these tiny, chronological actions actually shift who you are at your very core. Mazes are solved by movement, not by breaking down walls. I want you to really think about that for a second. You don't solve a maze by violently smashing through the barriers, right? You solve it by taking calm, consistent steps forward. Real consistency isn't about loud, brute force discipline or endlessly grinding through pain. It's a much more quiet, beautiful shift where winning becomes so effortless and natural that your lazy brain doesn't even bother fighting it anymore. It just effortlessly becomes who you are. And that brings us to the ultimate, definitive takeaway you should hold on to from this explainer today, the lazy genius philosophy. It's about doing the smallest meaningful thing with the least resistance at exactly the right moment. You don't become successful by doing infinitely more than everyone else. You become successful by designing a system that works predictably, even when your energy is literally hiding under the bed. It's about taking the smallest meaningful step, stripping away the friction, and executing it when it truly counts. Because the truth is, you aren't behind, you aren't fundamentally broken, and you certainly aren't late. You are just perfectly misaligned with how your brain naturally wants to work. So, are you finally ready to stop chasing perfection and embrace a softer, smarter version of growth? Are you ready to let your beautifully lazy brain finally guide you? It's time to build a system that works for you, not against you. Thanks so much for spending time with this explainer today, and go enjoy doing the hardest things the easiest way.